I am Nick Shell. Do I care about you? Yes. Do I love you? Yes. Would I exist without you? No, I would not. What do we got going on in the comments world today? I made a video called Comments on Rosemary Oil Helping My Hair Loss. If nothing else, ... I like this comment from my friend Lemire Lowe. Here's what he says. Quote, all true, but what if it is the rosemary that is countering whatever trigger that initiated your genetic balding? In that line, suppose that the veganistic habits that you are practicing are also adding stimulation that creates a barrier against further genetic hair loss. What if it is a lifestyle disposition in cohort with or in itself without assistance from the rosemary and veganism that is countering gene weaknesses? Your approach, your ability to approach this from every direction will not be in vain if even none of these three serve to ward off any future gene hair loss. Perhaps they were not the counters that you needed to stop and or maybe reverse hair loss. Regardless, people were practicing specific investigation before there were any universities or labs to be a professional. Your efforts will not be wasted on future hair loss sufferers whom have the same triggers for gene hair loss that you did. If anything, what you're doing helps your hair loss, assuming that you had any in the first place, end quote. And I like that. Robert will be the first to tell you, Nick absolutely had hair loss. And Robert actually says in another comment for another video recently that my thinning that was becoming so prominent was happening after I'd already become a vegan. So I mean, we can try to figure out the timelines here as far as what happened when. But again, the general timeline is this: that age 19, I started noticing like Norwood 1.5, and like age 21, 22, 23, it was becoming obvious I was Norwood 2, and then 8 years go by, and then I'm 30 years old, and that's when I'm starting to notice more of Norwood 2.5 with the vertex thinning. And even I myself have went back to older videos and I see it. It's obvious that my hair looks thinner. It's obvious. We'll know in the next coming months when I'm able to cut my hair shorter after my episode airs on Lifetime, this time next year, the name being of the show on February 20th, and I can finally cut my hair and disassociate myself from the guy on the Campbell soup can that I'm trying to look like, or the Campbell soup package. So I think this is a very interesting comment. And here's what I want to say to begin with. I mean, he makes a good point. If we're depending completely on Big Pharma to give us salvation from hair loss, we're always going to be at their mercy. We're always going to be their slave. Let me please take my money so you can save my hair from leaving. But through the history of the world, very good chance that other people had stuck to certain diets and therefore they were less likely to lose their hair. I've actually watched documentaries talking about how by default certain countries are vegan, not because they want to be, just because they don't have access to as much animal products, like China. So much of China, in theory, they're vegan because they just can't get access to meat, but they can get access to grains and vegetables. So it is interesting to think about all those things. Here's what I want to say about that. What I want to say is, so on my other channel, Family Friendly Daddy Blog, I regularly talk about the fact that I used to have eczema, disidrotic eczema. I used to have it on both of my hands. I'm completely cured and have been for over 5 years since I became a vegan. I used to be allergic to pets. I used to have constant sinusitis and air pressure in my nose. That used to be my life for years, for decades of my life. It all went away within months. A lot of it went away after a couple weeks after I became a vegan. So, and so what happens regularly on that other channel, Family Friendly Daddy Blog, is people will email me, they'll comment, they'll reach out to me, they say, Nick, I'm desperate to get rid of my eczema. And by the way, eczema, disidrotic eczema, would be these blisters and burns that just happen on your hands. Because certain people like me can't process animal products, and now I know that. Until I cut that out, it didn't go away. Until then, my body was warning me that there was a problem that me personally, not you, me personally can't digest animal products. I know that for a fact. Why would I ever go back now? My body is not wired to process it. Paul McCartney became a vegetarian for that reason alone. Ringo Starr did. Of course, Paul McCartney is also a vegetarian himself. But anyway, I get these emails from people and they say, Nick, I'm so desperate. I've done everything. I went to the doctor. I've tried the creams. I've tried acupuncture. I've tried all these things, Nick. I'm so desperate to get rid of my eczema. Help me, Nick. I've seen your videos. Help me. And then I respond by giving them a link to my other video by explaining that my eczema finally went away when I became a vegan. And those people either never respond back to me or they say, oh, I can never do that. I gotta have meat. I gotta have protein. And here's what I'm led to believe. I'm led to believe that even if it were proven, and it's debatable, I get that. I say even if it were able to be proven that my vegan diet of nearly 5 years now has helped slow down my hair loss in conjunction with the rosemary oil or not, either way, the fact that my vegan lifestyle has helped my hair loss from progressing, even if it in part contributed to the success. Here's what I have to say. Most of the people who are so desperate to not go bald still wouldn't become a vegan. I'm convinced of that. Here's why I'm convinced of that. For years of my life now, I've known the cure for dyshidrotic eczema, allergies, sinusitis, pet allergy, and I've been talking about it for years. For years on my blog, familyfriendlydaddyblog.com. For years on my YouTube channels. People reach out to me and then they say, oh, I could never do that. They tell me how desperate they are to be cured and they say, oh, I can never do that. I gotta have my protein. And that's the end of the conversation. And someone who moments ago said they were so desperate, they're suddenly no longer desperate because they're fearing that they're going to wither away from lack of protein. And the irony of it is, on my other channel, Family Friendly Daddy Blog, I'm doing a whole project about proving that I am overweight. I have a BMI of 26, and I'm making a video every month to try to lose the weight and not being overweight vegan anymore. And I've been faithful as a vegan, and I'm still overweight. So it's funny that people have this identity protective cognition to believe that, oh, I can't become a vegan because then I won't get enough protein. Nick, don't you realize that we're wired in a way that we need protein, that we need animal products? Nick, have you looked at your teeth? You have these fangs that chew through meat. And they'll tell me, and I'm like, I just tune them out. I don't care. All I know is what works for me. I don't have eczema anymore. I don't have pet allergies anymore. I don't have constant sinusitis anymore. And arguably, my hair loss situation has improved as well along the way, largely in conjunction with the rosemary oil. But here's what I believe. Even if I can prove that rosemary oil and being a vegan ultimately stops hair loss, if I could prove it, if studies came out that in medical journals that proved it, and they never would do that because, by the way, the medical community is not quick to acknowledge that people can be healed by becoming a vegan. Do this right now. Do this right now. Hey, right now. I'm serious. Get a pen. Get a piece of paper and write down What the Health. What the Health. It's on Netflix. It's a documentary. Watch it. You will see the emotional state that people get in the medical community when you suggest that people could be healed of predictable things, preventable things like diabetes, onset diabetes, simply by becoming a vegan. They get emotional, just like I just did. And remember, whenever you see me get emotional in a video, I'm manipulating you. I am so aware of how emotions work. I understand most people react quickly to emotions. I don't let other people emotionally affect me, but I know that most people do. Most other people allow themselves to be manipulated by other people's emotions. I don't do that, but because I am that, I'm the master of puppets pulling your strings. So, for all videos past and all videos present and future, if I get emotional, it's to prove a point. And now you won't forget. Now you'll remember that on What the Health on Netflix, it openly talks about how Big Pharma and the medical community doesn't want to acknowledge that becoming a vegan can improve your state of health. They want that same idea that, oh, but you got to have protein. Why? Conspiracy, man. Check it out. Watch What the Health and you'll see all, he'll prove to you that here in America, the government makes money for making sure that people eat meat and dairy products. They make money from that. Okay? I could call it a conflict of interest, actually. Okay? So because of that, the government and the medical community is not going to admit that people can be cured and helped by becoming a vegan. They want to keep making you think that you're not going to get enough protein if you're a vegan. And then look at me. Look at the guy who's overweight. Now granted, you're like, Nick, you don't look overweight. But yeah, if I were standing in the right light, you're like, oh, you got a double chin. Like, oh yeah. Okay, you're overweight, I admit it now. Okay. But either way, my BMI is 26. And I prove it on a video on my other channel, familyfriendlydaddyblog.com. You can just type in Family Friendly Daddy Blog on YouTube and BMI 26 vegan. It'd pull up. You can watch me prove, waving myself, and then I'm 5'9", and I prove that I'm 5'9". I show you on my phone I'm overweight. I say that because people, oh, but you won't get enough protein. Now, with all that being said, do I care if you become a vegan? Of course not. I'm an intelligent, confident man. And other people's decisions over their personal life mean nothing to me. As long as you're not hurting another person, I don't care what you do and I don't care what you believe. Okay? But what I can say in all confidence, if I wasn't a vegan and I was not using rosemary oil, I would not expect to have this much hair right now. And I'm convinced of that. Now, with that being said, I'm also convinced that even if it could be proven that being a vegan is part of the reason why I still have hair, I am convinced that most of you watching this, as much as I love you, I'm convinced that most of you still wouldn't become a vegan. Why? Because you believe that vegans won't get enough protein. Even though I'm an overweight vegan, I've eaten no animal products in almost 5 years, and I've still got a BMI of 26. And somehow, vegans don't get enough protein. Even if I could prove being a vegan helps stop hair loss, I am convinced most people have identity protective cognition blocking them from ever considering that they could actually become a vegan. That's what I'm convinced. As far as something promoting the continuation of hair loss in society, I'm convinced that people are too close-minded to becoming a vegan. They care more about that than they care about stopping their hair loss. That's how I think people prioritize. Oh no, I'm losing my hair. I'm 21, this can't happen to me. Oh no. And I'm like, what about if you became a vegan and used rosemary oil? Oh no, I could never do that. No, I'd wither away and then I'd have to go to the hospital and I'd be a skeleton. Oh no, oh. It's pretty simple. I'm the only person on the internet providing any inkling of proof. Rosemary oil and being a vegan can be linked to stopping hair loss. And nobody cares enough to do anything about it. No one's going to become a vegan by anything I say, because most people care more about the identity of eating meat and believing the lie that vegans don't get enough protein than they care about their hair. On a scale, here's how most people, and I could be wrong, please let me know if I'm wrong, because Maxwell Smart's a vegan and he watches my channel. Here's how it works. This is a scale. Oh no, I care about hair loss. Oh, but I gotta eat meat, eggs, and dairy. So I care more about that than I do hair loss. If I'm wrong, let me know, but that's my perception of how things actually work when people say they are worried about hair loss. They care more about eating meat, eggs, and dairy. What the Health, Netflix, watch it now, right now, immediately, right now.